When you are in your soul freedom, you no longer have to do your bedside prayers and your devotions, which is all ego-based piety. You don't have to do any of that. In fact, you don't do anything that feels like a burden. And yes, we can convince ourselves and say, oh, bedside prayer isn't a burden. I'll be honest, it felt like a burden to me. It felt like a dread. Just like people don't want to go to church, it feels like a burden and a dread on the soul, because those are compulsive rituals that have been bound upon us. We do that in that manner because we were taught to do it in that manner. I was never good at praying. I could never think of what to say to God. Maybe yours is different, but man, there's nothing like waking up in the morning and not having to get out of bed and kneel and say your prayers to God. That is so disconnected. That is what a disconnected, separated soul would do. I wake up in the morning and I record these messages and express what God wants to express through me. Express what is in my soul. Express the soul speak. Express what comes natural to me. I don't have to think about what to say to God as if He is up there sitting on His throne waiting to hear from me. That's separation. You don't have to speak anything to another as if another is listening to your prayers. You are the God that you're praying to, and you're the God that's listening to your own words, and you're the God that is creating the prayer. It's all one. You are all of it. And it never has to extend outside of your soul. Your soul is the throne of God. Your soul is God. And the beautiful life that comes out of a soul that is not bound up by do's and don'ts and how to conduct yourself as a Christian. That soul is living the abundant life, and that is a free soul. Even when we try to emulate the life and example of Jesus, that is imitation. That is a copy. We're trying to copy someone else's spirituality. Don't be like Jesus. Don't emulate Jesus. Let your own soul express in the way that only your soul can express. Otherwise, you're a copycat of Jesus. You're living according to the example of someone else. Let your soul free. Let it out of the cage. Let it be an expression, not according to Jesus, but let it be an expression according to you, according to Shelley, according to Frank, according to Ken. Let it be the expression according to you. Do not try to copy. Do not try to imitate. Be an original. Be the original. I just want to do an addendum on the bedside prayer and devotion and all of that I mentioned earlier. So here's the addendum thoughts to that. In fact, the activity of praying by your bedside or having devotions and going to church is a behavior by your ego, which is in a separate awareness from God, and it is your ego that prompts you to do these activities in order to prove to yourself that you are spiritual. But your ego doesn't get to validate your soul. Your soul should be dictating to your ego who you are. Your soul knows that it is spirit. Your soul knows that it is divine. It does not need the pious activity of an ego mind that busies itself with Bible study and prayer and attending church just so it can prove to the soul that you have a spiritual connection with God. It's backwards. Can you see it? Can you see it, how that behavior and action is prompted from the ego that does not know that you are God? And again, I realized that phrase probably triggers people when I say, don't you know that you are God? What I mean is, don't you know that you are of divine essence, of divine spirit? You are a divine being in a human body. So don't let the ego have a conniption and be triggered over me saying, don't you know that you are God? I'm just meaning to say, realize that you are a spiritual being, a holy being in a human body.